what makes life what it is. You know, what is it? So that really underpinned my explorations as far as the natural sciences were concerned. And then I had a career in the chemical industry. So I'd actually studied some chemistry and physics as part of the overall initial scientific qualifications, and spent the next 17 years in a fairly normal career until my life started really diverging and taking me on a different path. So I know we all have our stories, we all have our journeys of awakening that have such unique flavors and colors. And for me, it's kind of like there was a thread that went through my life. I can't say the same as some people do, that I was psychic from the time that I was a child, because I'd completely closed down. You know, I lived this normal life. And then in 1997, it was kind of like everything blew wide open. And really opened me up to what I had been closing myself off to for all of those years. So 1997, 1998 really saw me taking a very divergent path from the career that I had had and moving into healing with the activations that opened me up in that time. It was literally like energy was pouring through me, through every pore in my body. So the scientist in me said, I want to know what this is actually all about, because I'm experiencing this. I know that it's real. I know that there's got to be an explanation for this somewhere and somehow. And that started me on this journey of really exploring what life is and how life works at a much, much deeper level, and the spiritual implications of all of that. So it was the energetic fabric and infrastructure that underpins life, and then the spiritual implications of it. So that sort of took me on a route which really guided me through color therapy, through Reiki healing. I did a lot of natural healing. I studied metaphysics and metaphysical healing, and did spiritual healing, and did body work, a beautiful, beautiful body work process that I've been working with now for 20 years. Just really, really amazing. So there was a lot of information that I was gleaning and opening up to between 97 and 98. No concept of diamonds or sacred geometry, although I was beginning to get some really unusual information in the meditations that I was taking at that time about grids, which I found quite interesting. And then I followed my guidance in 2002 to leave the home that I had, and I'd been living in South Africa at that time for over 30 years, and returned to England, which was the place of my birth, the country of my birth. And I followed that thinking, well, you know, if this is what my guidance is and that's where it's taking me, then that's the right thing for me to do. So that's exactly what I did. Sold up everything, moved countries, came back to the UK. And then my life fell apart, and I can, and I think so many people can relate to it.
Yeah, and it was also a reverse culture shock in a way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So it was like, right, now you're committed to this. You know, you've sort of been indicating, you've been asking the questions, you want to know how it works. We're going to give you first-hand experience of what all of this is about. You know, and it was a dark night of the soul, really, sort of in 2002. And I found myself going through a lot of internal processing. And the question that I kept asking over that time was, okay, help me to understand. Higher self, help me to understand. Just what is this? Why is this? Where is this going? What is it all about? And it was in 2003 when there was, as a consequence of this really deep inner work and a lot of the pain, the processing, and the reintegration of aspects of myself, that I was presented with a number of enigmatic geometric codes, which really took me by surprise, completely by surprise. And they were so clear. They were very, very vivid. So it was almost like a package download. And they've really been unfolding since then. So that was the first thing that happened in 2003, was the delivery of what are now the Diamond Light Codes. Yeah.
We're going to get to that because that just sounds so amazing. What I love, I just want to say, Julie, you were that scientist first, and then it got spiritual, and you went on a path for that spirituality. When you were going through that dark night of the soul, that was common for many people as well. I find it interesting. It was right after 9/11, and globally that another level of awakening for humanity. So tell us then, the dark night of the soul, as you were going through this, coming back from South Africa to England, right, and getting used to that culture, it was like you were being stripped clean. But you said that after you reintegrated these aspects of yourself, then the knowledge came in. When this knowledge came in, what was the experience? What were you doing? And how did you trust it?
Do you know, I have to say, Lauren, it's been a highly intuitive, very personal, integrative process, because at one point in that time, I was actually channeling in the first year that I was actually in the UK. And at one point I sat down to do my connection and do this work and ask a question and just help me to understand what I'm doing, help me to understand my purpose, what I'm here for, what is actually happening. And there was a little voice that actually said to me, who are you talking to? How do you know who you're talking to? How do you know who? And I went, that's an interesting question. All right, so how do I know? How can I know who I'm talking to? I mean, really know deep within my being. And the answer that came to me was that the only way that I could actually establish that connection was for it to be my highest self and to establish it with truth, with clarity. So I went through a process of testing and working with that connection to my higher self. To the point where I could trust the signals, trust the information. And it was then that the diamond light codes and then the information about the diamond started coming through. So the diamond light codes appeared in 2003, and it's very difficult to describe, because with that experience, I was doing some rebirthing breathing. And I'd been doing it constantly as a process, a daily exercise for probably about 2 months. Just help me to understand, higher self, help me to understand. And these codes presented, and I didn't know what they were. And I said, all right, and they were all geometries, and a lot of them had the diamond shape in them. And I went, okay, right, I can see these. What are they? And I started communicating with them, and they started communicating back to me through that process that they were codes of light. And I saw them as codes of light. I was doing a meditation with them, and I'm going, okay, help me to understand. What are you? What are you doing? And then the information came in that I saw them as three-dimensional glowing structures of light. And then they moved, and I went, oh my goodness, they're alive, they're living consciousness codes of light. And I went, okay, right, so they're alive, and so what do they do? And bit by bit, and it was a trusting process of working with them, and getting to the point of understanding and trusting their information that they were working at the DNA level to actually unlock, to rectify, to bypass all of the tweaks, if you like, that had been made to our DNA, where we'd been closed off to certain aspects of ourselves over in ancient times, the interference with our DNA. Because if one looks at ancient interventions as far as the development of the human race is concerned, and various other interventions, there's been a lot of damping down of our DNA, which has prevented us from realizing our full potential until this time. So the codes presented as a mechanism for working at the DNA level. They were still just light codes. They weren't diamond light codes. And it was only a year to 18 months later, it was probably about 15, 16 months later, when I got woken up at 2:30 one morning, and the message, my higher self message, was get up, take your journal, go and sit in the spare room. Get up, take your journal. I went, okay. And I got up and I went and sat in the spare bedroom. And there, and other people have experienced their own versions of this, but there in the corner of the room was a 6-foot octahedral grid of light. That's what it was.
Wow.
I kind of went, Wow. All right, then. So this is an octahedral diamond grid of light. So right, I can see it. What is it? And the message that came from higher self was, this is your personal diamond light grid. This is the grid that needs to be built between the stars, meaning the Earth star and the Soul star energy centers around the body. And the grid, the diamond grid, is the vehicle for the light codes. And that was it. And I went, all right. This is interesting. Because, and I think what was so trusting at that time, Lauren, was, you probably remember going back to about sort of 2004, was that everything that was being done at that time was orientated around the flower of life.
Mm-hmm.
And the Merkaba. There was a lot of work being done with the Merkaba and sacred geometries and the flower of life, and I knew that all of this was going on. And I'm going, all right, so everybody else is getting this amazing information in respect of the Merkaba and the flower of life, and here I sit, now I've got a diamond. What do you want me to do with this? Higher self kind of thing. And it really was. I mean, I sort of think back at how my higher self must have actually gotten so frustrated and been so amused with me over the years. But what has happened since that first delivery is I just kept on asking the questions. Was help me to understand, what is this? Because nobody at that time was talking about the diamond. So there was no information out there that I could go to, to try and find the validation. So higher self would guide me little bit by little bit and say, right, I want you to do this. I want you to align it in this way around the body. Right, feel what happens? Okay, now that's really interesting. Yes, I can experience that. And then I would be led to a snippet of information or to some scientific understanding or validation for this amazing body of light. You know what I'm saying? So all along, it's been working with this merging, this beautiful blend of being guided by spirit, guided by higher self, and being validated by the science that was presented. So it's continued to unfold like the most amazing flower, like that crown, the crown lotus that you see, this perpetual unfolding of the meaning and the purpose of this amazing crystalline body of light as I have worked with it. So it's been a journey of deep, deep trust to the nth degree, to the point where I've learned to relate to it and to relate to so much of the spiritual work, asking questions in a very symbolic way, because I look at what a lot of people are talking about, and there's still a lot of literal interpretation, whereas information from the ancients, information from higher self that has been preserved is actually done symbolically as opposed to literally. And the more I've understood about sacred geometry and the way that things are made manifest, the clearer this has actually become. And just a perfect example of this, you may have come across many, many references to the 144,000. So there are references to the 144,000 in the Bible, in the book of Revelation. The 144,000 will be saved. There are references to Solomon's temple, and those are the sacred dimensions of Solomon's temple, the holiest of holies, the holy temple. And in the New Age arena, or the New Age environment, for want of a better description, that's sort of become, well, there are 144,000 masters of light on the planet, and it's the 144,000 masters who actually would create the critical mass for the ascension of humanity. And I don't really use the word ascension very much, but it's used, the 144,000 is actually used in that context. And in the study of sacred geometry and coming to actually understand the depth of meaning in that, the meaning is in the root of the number, the core of the number, which is 144. And you can add as many noughts as you want onto the end of that number, but it is the meaning in the number itself which is significant. And the 144, if you start looking at the diamond and the Merkaba. Now, bearing in mind that when anything is manifest from spirit into physical reality, it is manifest first through sacred geometry, through geometric forms. They form the bridge between the formless and the world of form. The Merkaba and the octahedron, the sacred diamond, as I like to call it, both have a total number of angles in their form and structure, which is 1440. So when we talk about the paradise grids, there's even, I've heard talk about the 144,000 being the number for the paradise grids. It's the number of angles in the structure and form of the sacred octahedron. So any reference to the 144, the 1440, 144,000 is a reference to the diamond crystalline consciousness that is achieved and accessed through the sacred form of the octahedron.
Mm-hmm.
And the depths and the layers that are contained within that, I mean, from a scientific perspective, from a symbolic, from a spiritual perspective, that is something that I've now studied since 2004. So this has been, sort of 13, 14 years of really pulling the threads and the pieces together, of understanding it in so many different ways that it's been quite mind-blowing for me. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense.
Yes, it's quite fascinating. And also 144 equals a 9, and we know that 9 is a very powerful number there too. And fascinating, sacred geometry, the form is a bridge between dimensions. So let's talk a little bit about that. You were saying that spirit manifests through the physical geometry. There's also a light language in the sacred geometry, and this is awakening our DNA.
So if one thinks about the formless world, where we just have this receiving massive energy from a sacred feminine perspective, from a divine feminine perspective, we might refer to this or understand it as the void or the womb of creation. And as energy begins to move within that with the imprint of thought, with desire, we begin to magnetize that energy towards us. Energy begins to move. And the energy begins to move in its natural form, which is spirals and ultimately toroids. Now, if you have, you get energy beginning to move and interacting with other toroids and other spirals in such a way that they actually project a form of light into four-dimensional space that is an enfoldment of the information contained within the thought that was impressed upon the ether or the formless void. So that thought enfolds itself because it causes energy to move. That energy then enfolds itself through geometric forms. And this is why we have often a visceral reaction and a visceral response to shape, and why shape is actually so important, especially the sacred geometric forms as we might know them. So all of these forms contain imprints or ideas or concepts of information and light that is then brought to us. So what the light codes are the packaged bits of information regarding our evolutionary journey, our beingness, our total evolved presentation, if you like, as a human being. And the light codes bring that information into being. We access them through the coherence of our diamond light grid, because when we understand that the diamond actually is the eternal connecting fabric that runs through, it's the invisible fabric that actually runs through and interconnects everything within the universe. from the micro level within our bodies to the macro level out there in the stars, we actually have interconnected diamond, octahedra, and tetrahedra forming the network through the ether. So it is through the diamond grid that information is transmitted into our being, and it is our alignment with that fabric that gives us access to the information within the universal grid that is relevant and will support the restructuring of our physical body in order to step up into our evolved physical form. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I do have to say, Julie, thank you for the scientific mind on this, because that was absolutely your training into your own evolution onto the spiritual side. We absolutely must get spiritual, which absolutely becomes more of a word of consciousness rather than spirituality.
Yes.
So we are expanding our consciousness definitely in this episode. It's wonderful to hear you speak of this in such a beautiful way. So sacred geometry totally is packed with information from higher dimensions. Okay, you talk about the octahedron or the diamond and this crystalline diamond consciousness. Tell us a little bit about the makeup of the octahedron.
Okay, so the octahedron is a combination of two pyramids, and it's two four-sided pyramids that are actually joined in the middle. So it's a very, very powerful sacred geometric construct. And I think a lot of people, and I've heard this expression before, almost dismissed it as being, if you look at the sequence of sacred geometric form, there is a transition from the initial tetrahedron, which is a three-sided pyramid with a triangular base, to the cube, to the octahedron, which is two four-sided pyramids with four triangular faces on a square base, but they're joined in the center, then through to the dodecahedron and the icosahedron, more complex forms. And I've actually had people say, that they're beyond the diamond because they're actually moving into more complex geometries. And it's fascinated me to hear this being said as well, because if one looks at and truly gets to grips with and understands what the diamond and the octahedron is and what it facilitates, we are never beyond the diamond. We are never beyond, because the diamond anchors us into the web of the universe. So if we can think of it as two pyramids joined in the middle, we need only begin to look at what the qualities of pyramids are to begin to understand the magnitude, the value, the importance of the octahedron from one of its valuable aspects. And pyramids, we know what do they do? They preserve what is put within them. They also function to restore things to their original state. And that to me is a profound expression, because if the octahedron is now two pyramids joined in the middle, you've got an amplified pyramidal energy within the octahedron. And this is the essence of what it does, is it forms a living bridge when we structure it within our energy field to help to restore our physical beingness to its pristine, original, intended state. So it's not only our physical beingness, it's to restore the integrity and coherence of our spirit and our consciousness to source, and an alignment with source back to its original state. So, these correlations for me are just absolutely beautiful.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. And yeah, and again, I love that scientific mind of yours, and how in meditation you always asked to be shown the deeper understanding or to help you understand this better. Okay, so this living bridge, it's a living bridge in alignment, and you said when we structure it in our fields. So share with us how this works. What do we do with it?
Okay. Yeah, I sort of love this bit because it's happened with quite a few people, and perhaps I should just mention to individuals on the call that when we experience the correct alignment with the octahedral field in and around our body, some people experience an audible and physical click as it aligns itself in the correct orientation. And that to me has been so amusing. I was given that right in the beginning because that was one of the things that really fascinated me as well, was I was saying, all right, higher self, so what do I do with this? How do I build it? How does it fit between the stars? How does this work? And I know a lot of other people who work with the diamond and don't necessarily align it in this way. And I'll just tell you what my experience was. So higher self actually said to me, right, well, you step into the diamond, right, now we're going to do a little bit of playing with it. The correct alignment is so that the very center of that octahedral shape is aligned with the base of your spine. And I kind of went, all right, that doesn't really make sense. I can't understand why that might be, and I didn't understand it because I could feel and I was aware of the heart energy that is prevalent and very experiential once we are embraced and embodied, if you like, and centered within that diamond form. And so I actually did the exercise and I went, okay, so help me, and it went click, and I went. And it was like my whole body went, oh, that's beautiful. All right. And I went, okay, right, I can experience that. I feel it. I trust it. And that's how I began to work with it with others. Fast forward a couple of years. So I'm operating on total trust each step of the way. And I find out that there is a quality that is attributable both to the triangular face shape of each of those facets that operates in such a way that energy is harnessed within that pyramidal shape 1/3 of the way up the diamonds, or 1/3 of the way up the pyramid. So you've got this happening in the upper part because you've got the diamond centered at the base of your spine. So in the upper part, the upper pyramid, it's centered 1/3 of the way up. And in the lower pyramid, it's centered 1/3 of the way down. And I went, oh my goodness. If you take a sort of tape measure, if you like, and you measure from the base of your spine the distance to your soul star, which is where the grid was centered between the stars, then the heart is 1/3 of the way up the height of the pyramid. And I kind of went, oh, this is amazing. This is just so exciting now. It makes sense. But I had to operate on trust for sort of like 3-4 years before that little bit of information dropped in. So it's kind of the whole journey, everything that I've done and presented and share with people in respect of the diamond. And there's so much, Lauren, 13 years worth, has validated my trust in the information in what higher self is given. And as you rightly said, the scientist in me sort of questions, the intuitive part of me trusts, and the scientist part of me questions. Says, okay, I trust that. Now show me. Now help me to understand. And that is the essence of it, because if we center ourselves within that field so that the pyramids are aligned at the base of the spine, stretching up, stretching down, you have a core column that runs along your spine through the dead center of your brain, the pineal gland, all the way up to the soul star above your head, and the same down towards your feet. It's a column of light that actually bisects, but then binds together. That's what I was going to say, sorry. That binds together both of the hemispheres of your brain. So it's the left brain, which is the rational, reasoning, aspects of the brain as well as the intuitive brain. So it marries them together in the most beautiful way, because that is ultimately where we are going in respect of the new earth, is to be able to work with an expanded consciousness that is balanced between both parts of the brain. So it's of necessity. It doesn't mean you have to be a scientist, but it is thinking like a scientist in respect of still asking the questions and progressing the ideas and deepening the understanding and the linear concepts and application and the bringing into manifestation, if you like, bringing into form through the left brain, whereas the right brain is the imaginative connection with spirit. It is that which connects with the void, which imprints the desires and the concepts, not just imprints, but also receives from the universe. And these two parts of our brain or our body-mind then operate in total harmony to create an expanded consciousness field and an expanded experience of consciousness. And I think that is, sort of understanding that in respect of the balance and coherence that the sacred diamond, your personal diamond light grid, actually brings to your essence, to your being. It holds stability and form. And then we start getting to, Lauren, the concept of expanding the deliveries of energy from our cosmic environment to Earth at the moment, and our ability to be able to harness and stabilize those energies. Because there's almost such an onslaught. We see this in the intensification of sort of solar activities and solar winds. The weakening of the Earth's magnetic field means that Earth has opened up to receive these energies and impulses from our cosmic environment much, much more intensely. We see the increase in lightning taking place on the planet, which is causing the Schumann resonance spikes, which are I need to just say this, they are intensification spikes and not, they're intensifications within designated frequency bands and not increases in frequency as such. But it's an intensification which does impact us in very many ways and physically. So there's no doubt that the electromagnetic environments and the energetic influence that we are under from our cosmic environment is increasing in intensity all the time. And we need the strength within our energy fields to be able to stabilize and ground that energy. It's like we become an antenna for this cosmic energy, and we're able to then make it coherent, ground it into the earth without it being scattered. Because if we are not stable and centered within our own being, within our very core, it's kind of like that energy comes in and bounces off. So we can't anchor it. We can't ground it. We can't then live. We can't access the information that this supercharged energy is actually bringing to us, and being able to harness that information and to receive the codes of light that it's delivering. A lot of people are seeing, very special geometries and speaking light language. These are all manifestations of this highly supercharged energy which is being delivered to the planet. So the ability to be able to harness, to communicate that, to understand, to release and integrate and share and broadcast the information is dependent upon the stabilized manifestation, if you like, of our own energy fields, and that's what the sacred diamond does. So it literally makes us a living bridge between our current reality, this 3D world, and all of the dimensions beyond, which are infiltrating into this dimension at the moment. It is our job to make manifest the concepts and ideas which will birth the new earth, the new world into being through our form, through our ideas, through our actions, through our words, through our behaviors in the physical world. And, that is the essence of being in the world, but not of the world. So we are in the world, we are taking action, but the action that we are taking is being fed through from beyond this 3D world. So we understand, if you like. So we are that constant bridge between those expanded dimensions of consciousness and bringing it into being in the 3D world. And that to me is like the real meaning of ascension, is the embodiment of all of those frequencies so that we live in our bodies this higher and most evolved consciousness. And that primarily is probably one of the greatest gifts that the diamond actually brings to us in our energy field.
So beautiful. Really, we are bringing heaven on earth by being in this alignment. And again, you've got that scientific validation of why that works. Aligning ourselves to it. It is a crystalline structure.
Yes.
And as we've learned from you, it is living consciousness from the higher dimensions. It is how we bring in inspired action. So creating this around ourselves, I know you've got wonderful activations in the work that you present to the world. You've got powerful ways for people who can connect to this in that way. This is why we must hold our vision of New Earth, and you're showing us exactly how we align to New Earth through this diamond light grid. Yes. So can we experience something that allows us to connect in a little bit as this living bridge between dimensions?
Absolutely. I'd love to do that. It's just, to me, it's still a wonderful experience to connect with and to anchor that field into being. And there are biological resonators within the physical body that begin to oscillate with the frequencies that the diamond grid opens us up to. And there's a lot more that goes around that is explored in the teachings. But that's why it becomes a very visceral experience that people very, very often experience it at different levels of their being. So I'd love to take people through a bit of a process. So if we're fine to just go straight into it, Lauren.
That would be so beautiful, Julie. Thank you. I love this, that in our bodies we have resonators that will respond to this. So beautiful. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So if everybody would like to make themselves comfortable and just gently close your eyes. Don't do this if you're driving, but gently close your eyes. Just rest one eyelid on top of the other. And as with all internally orientated and consciousness-orientated processes, begin by placing all of your attention on your breath. And take a deep breath in, deep into your body, down to the base of your lungs, and breathe out. And take another deep breath in, and this time breathe down into your belly. And as you breathe out, allow your body to relax, to be at peace, to begin to surrender to the sacredness of this moment, of this time, to your sacred, highest expression of self. And take another deep breath in as you breathe in now down to the tips of your toes, and breathe out. Allow your body to establish a natural rhythm associated with your breath, without any forcing, any tension. Just breathe in deeply. And imagine now that you are breathing in a stream of millions of tiny, tiny particles, nano diamonds, They are literally just sparks of light. For these nanodiamonds are formed within our cosmic environment. They act as deliverers of information. They act to deliver cosmic frequencies and information into our beings. They filter through our atmosphere. We breathe them in on the air that we breathe. So breathe in those minute, microscopic sparks of nanodiamond light, flowing in on the air, up to your brain, down into your lungs, being transported through your blood, into your heart, and out into your entire body. And in this process, you begin to experience yourself as a living stream of light, breathing in the cosmos itself. Just allow these particles to cascade throughout your bones, your tissues, all of your blood cells, down to the very DNA containing cells in your body. And as you withdraw your consciousness in all of this cascade of pixelated light that you are, you become aware of responses within your DNA, responses within your blood, responses within your body, a lightness, an expansiveness. And these particles of light now begin to coalesce at the base of your spine, the very tip of your tailbone, which is known as the sacrum, the sacred bone, or the holy bone. Be aware of the gathering of light. And as the intensity builds in this area, that light begins to move outwards from this point along predefined axes to the front and the back, and the left and the right. They form the foundational axes, the inner axes of your personal diamond. And these fibers of light stretch out equally in all four directions. And then from the central point at the base of your spine, those particles of light build in intensity once more. And now they begin to move in a column down towards your Earth star below your feet. Be aware of the vibrations in your body, of the lightness and the expansiveness. As you breathe that column of light down until it connects strongly with your Earth star energy center, approximately 18 inches below your feet. And as it connects, there is a cascade of light, a spiral that begins to form around the lower part of your diamond, spiraling upwards And as it gains momentum, it initiates the upward movement of these inner particles of diamond light up along your spine. Breathe it up, assisted by the upward moving spiral from the earth, until that light reaches up through your brain, igniting your pineal gland, your third eye, your expansive inner vision, and up to the soul star above your head, your gateway, your personal gateway into your own transcendental essence of being. And as your soul star is ignited, it initiates a downward spiral around the form of your upper pyramid. So you stand now held by the 6 axes of your own personal diamond, aware of the energy building through the rotational energy fields around the lower pyramid and the upper pyramid, building in intensity, holding you stable. And as the intensity builds, the fibers of your personal diamond reach out beyond your own diamond, your own grid. And you are aware of the ignition of grids around the planet and beyond, reaching out to the sun, reaching out into space, igniting a fabric that you had previously not seen, igniting a fabric that connects you to all of creation, to the source, essence, and energy of your highest form of consciousness, your highest expression of self, the gift that is you from the source light. And in this connection, you are aware of your own transmission of light language or light codes, light carriers of information being delivered to you to ignite your own deeper purpose and orientation within the deepest cells of your being. Be open to receiving these geometries and codes, the symbolic language of Source, traveling along the cosmic diamond grids into your personal diamond field. Be aware of any responses in your body as you experience the ignition within the cells, the receipt of these codes of light. Allow yourself to embrace this language. For even if there is no clarity and understanding on the meaning and purpose right now and in this moment, know without a doubt that this will unfold within you in its perfect and divine timing. For you have a role to play in the manifestation of these highest expressions of humanity for the creation of heaven on earth. You are a sovereign authority in the form of your highest self. Your personality acts on behalf of your sovereign self, your diamond self, this crystalline aspect of your consciousness. Spend a few moments bathing in this light, connected to the totality of our universal cosmic grid. Be aware of the stability and the strength that you experience within this space. Be aware of the insight and awareness that is available to you within this space. Be aware of the crystalline clarity in answers to your questions within this space. Be aware of the joy, the balance, and the expansion of your heart within this sacred crystalline grid. For you are aligned with the heart of the universe and the mind of our one source and creator. Rest into that knowingness, surrender into your own sovereignty. And take a deep breath in and breathe out. And just withdraw your awareness into your own personal diamond. And there is no need to release it, for it is you. It is a living bridge between you and your highest soul essence, your crystalline sovereign self. Hold that space as you breathe in deeply and breathe out. And just prepare on the next in-breath as you breathe out to open your eyes and return to waking 3D consciousness. Bright, vibrant, buzzing, raised in frequency, raised and connected with your sovereignty, with your soul. Once more, deep breath in and breathe out, and welcome back.
Thank you, Julie. That was so incredibly beautiful and comforting, and I am still so deeply connected. This is New Earth. I just want to go back into that space and close my eyes again. I know I'm not alone when I say that I can feel this in my body. In the beginning, around the sacrum, when we were building that light, absolutely, I felt that. That was incredible. And then your mesmerizing voice took us on a beautiful journey. We can all witness from this how we indeed are all one, connected from our internal being to this light source, that we are this living cascade of pixelated light, as you said it.
Yeah.
So incredibly beautiful, a living bridge with our crystalline, sovereign self. We went really deep there. I thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Lauren. What you say is so interesting because so many people through the processes and the diamond transmissions and come back with exactly those words. I just want to go back in there. I just want to hold that space. I just want to be in that space. It was just safe. It was wonderful. It was expansive. It's heart-filled. It is everything, and I think that's where we are going to, where we become the total living expression of what that is in our waking state, that becomes our life, so if that's an indication of what awaits us with the ultimate coherence of that grid throughout and around the planet. I mean, there is so much more that I could share with people about the whys and the whats and the hows and the purpose and what have you. But that is our future.
You've given us a really powerful tool here for this. I know that you do have a lot to share on this because you do a lot of activations that do take each of us deeper into this connection. Share with us a little bit about your special offer. This is truly embodiment of
Yes.
this higher light, and that's the activations that you've got.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lauren. And I would like to say to anybody who is even remotely interested or had an experience with the diamond is that the special offer packages will take you deeper and more expansive. And what I do with everything that I teach is it's not just a transmission or an activation, but every recording, every webcast, I tend to do them with visuals because there is a teaching and an educational component that goes along with it. And I find that vital to help with the understanding. And again, that's the scientist in me that says, trust me, have the experience. Now, here's the reason. Here's the meaning and the understanding behind it. So the first package is actually the diamond template activations, because within your diamond grid, as you've possibly just experienced, there are multiple layers of activating the fractal nature of your grid. So it's not just one diamond around you. That's your initial experience of it. There is a fractal pattern that occurs within your grid, which goes right down to your blood, to the DNA level, and there are very, very specific indicators at each of these levels at which activation takes place and alignment takes place within your diamond and for activation of various elements and aspects and facets of your grid. So the diamond template activations works at multiple levels, biologically and spiritually, to bridge these activations and to enable and facilitate, as you said, the embodiment of this new consciousness energy. So there is what we do, and what I've done through this is work also on deconstructing any old matrix attachments that we still, or any places, areas within our body where we're still embedded into the old matrix. So we work on deconstructing that and letting that go so that we can build the diamond with greater clarity, purity, strength, and coherence. And then move into the sort of DNA activations. There is an activation at DNA level, template activation at DNA level, and I explain and show you where the diamonds exist in your DNA, because it took me something like 8 years before I actually found that out, although that was, sort of acting purely on trust. As I know it's in the DNA. It's a holographic projection from the DNA, but I couldn't have shown you where it was. Now I know. So there's a DNA activation. There is a sacred marriage, so that we work with the polarities in respect of fine-tuning the balance between masculine and feminine. We merge more deeply with the cosmic heart. You actually had a taste of the heart opening within the diamond there. So that's one of the template activations, is this living bridge between your own heart and the cosmic heart. So it really amplifies the radiance within the field. And then activating what I call your inner cathedral of light. So each one of these is this 5-part series is actually a lengthy webcast, informational, and an amazing transmission. And there are lots of bonuses that go along with that. So we work on, for instance, activating your inner child, an emotional body purification. Everything is done from within the scope and the realm of the diamond. And then there is a beautiful future-orientated alignment, which is aligning with the new planetary human. And the new planetary human is that aspect of you, the future you, that actually is deeply embedded and integrated within the diamond crystalline field. So it's a wonderful, wonderful experience that many people have actually commented on as a consequence of doing that. And I really would just like to share with people just a little story around that quickly, if it's okay, Lauren, that a friend of mine who's very strongly and deeply connected with the diamond work, who's done energy work for many, many years, had a spontaneous progression 200 years into the future. She was supposed to be being guided into a past life regression, and it didn't happen. Instead, she went forward like 200 years. And it was fascinating because she came back, and this was during one of my darker times where I was going, this was many years ago, nobody understands the diamond. I really don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know, like what I'm doing it for. What am I continuing for? I'm just going to give it up and go and get a job. And she came back to me and she said, Jules, you have to continue. You have to do this. It is so important. She says, I went forward 200 years, and I'm going to tell you what I saw. Everybody was walking around, and you could see visibly their diamond fields. And I went, thank you. That's just what I need to get back on track. So yeah, it's a very, very beautiful activation and alignment. So very powerful, very powerful.
Oh my God, I got goosebumps on that. Well, you brought up some points I'm going to ask you some questions on, but I want to let you go on and talk about the other option, because there's one for old souls.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the first package, is the deepening of and the activation of those various levels of templates within your octahedral fractal. The Old Souls program is something almost completely different, although everything is contained within the diamond field. And that was the recognition, this is based around the recognition that old souls, and a lot of people will identify with this, have often felt themselves to be out of place in this world. And there's also perhaps a lack of worth or a lack of value, and sometimes fear about stepping forward within their sovereignty, about recognition of their value because of all of the lifetimes that we've been through. And yet there's an accumulation of wisdom that the old souls embody, which is just crying out to be brought forward, and that is part of being the living diamond bridge. It bridges the past and the future. So in order to create heaven on earth, we need to bring forward all of that ancient wisdom, blend it with the new energies that are coming in respect of walking forward, so that we become the living bridge also, not just heaven and earth, but past and future. All polarities are balanced within the diamond. So this program is specifically orientated towards old souls. It's a community that we began developing so that people who have kind of felt that they were outcasts in society, who didn't have a tribe to belong to, if you like, sort of begin to find their place and celebrate their uniqueness and celebrate the mastery in that uniqueness.
Yes.
And to understand the journey, to understand what characterizes old souls, there is a very special, couple of very special exercises and processes within this program that are not necessarily direct activations. There are a few transmissions and activations within this program, but it really is more about deepening our understanding of symbology, being able to connect with the world in a symbolic way, to be able to from a perspective of becoming sovereign and bringing all of that wisdom forward, being able to access the Akashic records, to harness and access your own past wisdom and your own future wisdom. And you can do that yourself rather than needing somebody who actually acts as sort of intermediary for you. So it really is about embracing and stepping into the mastery of your old soul sovereignty, because the world needs the old souls to step up, the old souls on their bridges. It's good, because a lot of old souls I think they get to the point where they go, I'm really tired. I've done all of that. I've been on this wheel for so many years. I'm done. And it's sort of like beg out of society kind of thing, whereas that wisdom is needed. There is a place, there is a purpose, there is an absolute need and requirement for the knowledge that they bring forward. So it's being able to generate your own symbols and to understand what they mean, to be able to connect with them in a deeper way, to connect with symbolism as a universal language and begin to interpret the layers of it within yourself. And it doesn't happen instantaneously. I'm not going to say to you, do this one and you will automatically be able to understand all symbols. It doesn't work that way. It's an unfolding. I mean, it took me, sort of 10 years to begin to come to grips with it. But it begins unfolding and it actually initiates your innate wisdom to be able to connect with. So you learn to trust in the language of symbols. You're going to create your own power symbol during this program. You're going to connect into the Akasha on your own. Understand your gifts as an old soul. You're going to move from faith as a concept, trust and knowing, because there is a difference between the two. Faith is still almost a belief-orientated concept, whereas trust and knowing is based on direct connection with your own divine self. Become a 24/7 conduit for the flow of love for yourself and for others. Transcend polarities and understand paradoxes and be comfortable living within the center of those paradoxes, and that's your diamond space. So if you've ever said, this planet's insane, just take me home, beam me up, stop the planet, I want to get off, you've battled with self-worth, then this Old Soul program is just really, really powerful. I have a group that have been on the Old Souls program who are now on a continuation program with me as we're going even deeper and more expansively into some of the ways in which we can work with consciousness to be able to support the birthing of the new earth. So there's so much that's actually moving from this. So there's an opportunity for individuals who wish to, once they've gone through this program as well, progress with that journey. So there's a lot of information processes, there's a brain balancing process, there's a lot of things that we do in this, as well as information about the 9 waves of evolution and what the 9th wave is that we are currently bathing in from a frequency perspective on the planet. And that's based on the work of Carl Kalleman. So we start bridging into other valuable aspects of work. And understanding the evolutionary journey of the human species, spiritually and physically. And the 9th wave has a huge role to play in respect of it being the frequency that brings the information, the holograms of information, the light codes of information, so that we can begin embodying and building the new earth. So there's a lot of stuff along the focuses on the 9th wave, some very, very interesting stuff there. And as part of the second program, there is also a bonus package in another 3 parts, which is the Sacred Mirrors program, which really deepens your personal understanding of the mirrors that you find and experience, the challenges that you may be experiencing in life, is understanding those mirrors from a non-judgmental personal perspective, so that you can take deeper, greater ownership of your life. And again, when you do this, you strengthen the sovereignty, you strengthen your diamond. So it's a really deep and profound program, so I've been told by those that have done it. So it's a beautiful package that is exceptionally supportive. And also, as you would have gathered, Lauren, everything that I do has a scientific, educational component as well as an energetic, spiritual consciousness component to it. So it bridges both all of the time. So yeah, thank you. I really, really look forward to welcoming more people into the diamond fabric, if you like, through working with you with these programs.
We thank you. It is quite comprehensive, this special offer, both options. I absolutely love the scientific aspect that you're bringing into it. You are converging the worlds of science and spirituality. That wisdom is most needed on our planet at this time, and I know people wishing to step into this, and everyone listening to this program is a new earth leader. We simply have to step into it. And you've given us a powerful tool to remember that connection, to feel that connection, to embody this light. So thank you for that. Of course, that special offer is available on the special offer link. Again, Julie, I want to thank you for that. It is full of your wisdom that is assisting humanity. What does the old matrix look like to you when you saw it in yourself or maybe others? What was that like?
I'll tell you what I saw. For me, it has an almost cubic form, and it because the old matrix has been orientated around very earthy, materialistic values, and very much the masculine, linear, rational thinking. So the primary geometries of that matrix that lend itself to that, or the primary geometry, is actually the cube. Now, one of the things that I actually have seen, which is just so amazing, because one of the times I was actually saying to Spirit, okay, just give me a quick elevator pitch on what I can use for the diamond. Just show me in a simple way how I could describe it. And the expression that I got was breaking down the firewalls. And I went, oh, that's interesting. And I saw diamonds or octahedra of light almost dropping down and inserting themselves into the old matrix, and literally beginning to, with the light, break down the firewalls that have kept us held in belief systems that have attuned us to that matrix of form. Now, to say that I see it as cubic is also very simplistic, so I'm kind of seeing it in that way, but it was just the analogy that was also given, that the diamond represents breaking out of the box, breaking out of the boxes that we have placed ourselves in with our beliefs and limitations about what we feel and think that life is really all about. Because ultimately, we need the cubic geometry because it's part of us earthing and anchoring and grounding that energy into being. But we need to first break down the firewalls of the beliefs that have prevented us from manifesting the new concepts and ideas on the planet. So that's kind of the analogy. So the deconstructing of the old matrix is really letting go of all of the ties that have held you bound within those belief systems that hold you in the old matrix of form, and then assisting in building the new diamond grid of light which interpenetrates the old. Yeah?
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. It is truly how we get in our own way. That 3D matrix is within us. And so let this new light come in. It's aligned with the cosmic light, the cosmic heart. So beautiful. Julie, thank you so much for this conversation. And as we close today, speak a little bit more about self-worth.
Okay, I'd heard, and it's interesting because I heard suit. So there's two things. The suit is the body that we were put in, and it is time. It is so important. And in dealing with low self-worth, I'm reminded of, I think it was Susan Jeffers from many years ago, and this is a truth that is still like very, very applicable. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear about shining your light, about stepping up, about being in your truth, and do it anyway. But what's important is to be discerning in respect of, we're not looking for evangelists who go out there and preach to like audiences of 10,000. We're looking for individuals who can be in their presence, who can hold the presence of their being within their diamond field. And sometimes we don't even need to say a word. We just need to be fully in that energy. And we look around, and often society, the way that it is structured at the moment, is such that we are so deeply programmed and heavily programmed with the belief that in order to have value, we need to be generating lots of money, we need to have a job that has status, we need to be doing certain things, driving certain cars. And to some extent, the New Age environment has also hijacked that concept that says if you are spiritually successful, then you would be able to manifest all of the money that you want. Well, you know what? The truth is, when you realize that you can manifest whatever you want, you actually get to the point of spiritual discernment and spiritual maturity where you know that that actually doesn't matter, because Spirit will always provide you with whatever it is that is needed at any moment in time. And it is being in that flow and in that knowing and in that knowledge that we begin to value ourselves in a different way. So it's kind of start recognizing where you may have bought into some of these belief systems, and obviously some of the processes in the package will help you to release attachments to those belief systems, that you remove those attachments to any concept that your worth is valued by anything exterior or external to yourself, whether that be any person, anything. And that requires really deep, deep, deep honesty. And old souls battle with that, because it's not just a programming from this lifetime. It's a programming that runs through the whole fabric of the soul, that comes through and threads through from eons. From lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. You're not worthy, or you've been murdered for what you knew, and that's very, very real. Or you were tortured, whatever it was. So there's a deep, deep feeling of unworthiness that is being restored through the fabric of the diamond light grid. And when you can hold that presence of yourself, you recognize that there is no need for any external manifestation of that value in material terms. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's very empowering and inspiring. I love it. Thank you so much. Really, this is our role now more than ever. And if there's any fear, feel it and do it anyway. Being in the presence of our diamond field. Julie Umpleby, thank you for this quantum conversation.
Lauren, and to everybody who's been listening, I thank you so much for the combined energy field. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity for us to amplify this amazing diamond space together, because it's a gift that we give to the world. We're of service, and thank you for being of service, Lauren.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Blessings.
And now it's time to dance our way to the cosmic heart. Enjoy.
No one on earth could feel like this.
for listening, and thank you for dancing with us in our collective intentions as they go across the universe to the cosmic heart. I'd like to thank my wonderful team at AcousticHealth.com, Heidi, Tony, Tom, Pam, Suzanne, and Garner, who assist with the production of Quantum Conversations, online healing retreats, and more. And thank you, too, for listening. If you've enjoyed this program, please share it with your friends and loved ones. And we thank you for shining your magnificent light and adding it to the world. This is when we love ourselves like no one else can. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at AcousticHealth.com. Namaste.
The moderator has left the conference. The conference is now completed. Goodbye. Welcome to the conference. Please enter the conference ID, followed by the pound key. Thank you. Guest ID accepted.